So it's not subtle. And at this point, it's not really a medical diagnosis as much as it is obvious to even a lawyer who essentially made the diagnosis in this report of age-related dementia.
So I've had tons of requests for this one. Please remember, this is not in any way supposed to be political. I do not care how you vote. This is only an observation about body language. And this is in 3 parts, and it's going to go very quick. Part 1 is looking at what seems to be Mr. Biden speaking to dead people. Part 2 is an answer to whether or not he feels that he is a well-meaning elderly man with a very poor memory. And part 3 is dealing with the documents that were found in his garage. Now, all of these, we're going to watch his facial expressions. We're going to look at his body language. And I want you to learn something about our current sitting president. Let's go.
Right after I was elected, I went to what they call a G7 meeting, all the NATO leaders. It was in the south of England. And I sat down and I said, America's back. And Mitterrand from France looked at me and said, you know, how long are you back for?
The first thing to watch for is what appears to be cognitive decline. You can see him trying to keep up with the thoughts that he has prepared, trying to fetch them out of his memory and go ahead and articulate them as clearly as possible.
And Mitterrand from France looked at me.
So he corrects himself on Germany versus France, but he's still getting the guy wrong. Mitterrand's been dead for a long time. I think he might have meant Macron, but watch his face. I want you to catch something very important in his facial expression. Look at this.
And said, you know, how long are you back for?
The first thing that he does is when he's grasping at trying to say something that he's tried to memorize, he closes his eyes. You'll see him do this. He closes his eyes, he gathers his thoughts, then he presents them. But after he closes his eyes, in this instance, he opens one eye and keeps one shut as he speaks.
How long are you back for?
This is where you have more than one emotion and more than one thing going on at the same time, and your brain is having trouble regulating which one to do first and which one to put on hold. So if you look at his face, he has got 2 different emotions going on. I'll black out one side and then the other. Check this out. See this side? It looks like he's going to communicate something that he has thought about. But if you look at the other side, at the same time that this is going on, he's still thinking about what to communicate. So if you go back and forth, you'll notice it looks like 2 different expressions. And the reason for the 2 different expressions is that in 2 parts of his brain, 2 different things are going on at the same time. Normally, if he was a little bit younger and a little bit more on the ball, he would be able to pull this off no problem. And he's done it for decades. But when things slow down cognitively, you have a hard time processing.
In his description, you are a well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory.
I'm well-meaning, and I'm an elderly man, and I know what the hell I'm doing. I've been president, I put this country back on its feet.
But moments later, another gaffe. Biden mixing up Mexico and Egypt while talking about the situation in Gaza.
As you know, initially, the president of Mexico, Sisi, did not want to open up the gate to allow humanitarian material to get in. I talked to him. I convinced him to open the gate.
So now he's confusing the leader of Mexico and the leader of Egypt, a part of cognitive decline once again. But notice after he says it, he understands that something's wrong, so he tries to divert by bringing attention to himself. Watch his eyebrows and watch his mouth.
I talked to him. I convinced him to open the gate.
His eyebrows go up and his mouth opens. I've told you this lots of times. Whenever we raise our eyebrows, it usually means we're trying to draw attention to ourselves, something that we're saying. It's very important. So no matter what else is going on, you're saying, look, pay attention to me. It's the same thing we do when we walk into a room and you see somebody that you know. You go, hey. Why do you do that? Because your natural instinct is to draw attention to yourself, saying, look, we know each other. He's doing the same thing here. He's saying, I may have got that name wrong. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. But either way, regardless of what you're thinking, look, I am the one who made this happen. I am the one who corrected the problem.
I talked to him. I convinced him to open the gate.
So he's drawing attention to himself away from what he just stated.
Things that appeared in my garage, things that came out of my home, things that were moved not by me, but my staff. Mr.
President. Notice here his hands are out. When you're using your hands like this to illustrate, this is good. This usually means that he's really processing something that exists. So he's putting it in its place in the garage. But then as he admits that the items exist, he immediately dismisses himself as being the person that put them there, and he raises his eyebrows to get you to pay attention to what he's saying. And what is he saying? It was his staff. It wasn't him.
Were moved not by me, but my staff.
Watch his eyebrows raise up, and then watch what happens afterwards, because his eyebrows are going to change.
But my staff.
Mr. President.
This is cognitive overload. This is Mitch McConnell stuff, if you know what I'm talking about. Notice there's about 3 things that happen here. First of all, his eyes go from look at me, I'm trying to say something important, to they drop down like, oh no, something's happening. Then his lips begin to quiver. It looks as though he's saying, whoa, 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 whoa. And I'll blow this up so that you can see it. You know what he's doing here? This is his brain saying this. Wait, 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 wait. And he begins to mouth what his brain is doing. Why does he do this? Because the room is now out of control. He had it under control by raising his eyebrows and saying, guys, look, I know that the boxes existed. I know they were in my garage. However, it was my staff that did it. Pay attention to what I'm doing. My staff that did it. And the minute that the reporter began to go down a different track and blame him, his mouth begins to say, what? It's the beginning of the word wait. And when he knows he can't do that, because that appears weak, every leader knows it. So you don't say, wait, hold it, because then it looks like you're out of control. So what he does is he literally shuts down. And it's like when you power down a robot in a cartoon, they go, he literally cognitively shuts down, and he drops his head, and then he raises his head back up as he's taking a breath, taking just a second to try to get his thoughts in order, and then he begins to speak again.
Mr. President.
And when he's raising his head, his eyes begin to flutter. They begin to blink quickly. This is again like your computer saying, hold on, and the little circle starts doing this because there's so much going on, the computer can't catch up. And that's what he did. He took a break, he shut down, he thought about what he was going to say, and then he tried to put it in order, and his eyes started to blink as his CPU said, wait a minute, we're allocating too much RAM here. And then he comes back up. Now watch what happens to his eyebrows when he begins to be questioned again.
For months when you were asked about your age, you would respond with the words, watch me. Many American people have been watching, and they have expressed concerns about your age.
That is your judgment. That is your judgment. That is not the judgment of the press.
Notice that. He says, yeah, watch me. And then all of a sudden, he goes, that is your judgment. So his eyebrows go down, he furrows them, they come together. You see the glabella begin to tighten up. That's a little muscle in between your eyebrows. And then he raises his finger because he goes from being open and listening to controlling the room and chastising somebody for bringing up something that makes him upset.
Many American people have been watching, and they have expressed concerns about your age.
That is your judgment. That is your judgment. That is not the judgment of the press.
That is your judgment. Furrowed eyebrows, as we call it sometimes when we do counseling, the Mr. Potato Head angry eyes. He begins to do this, and then he shakes his finger. When you're doing this, it's the same thing mentally as saying, I'm hitting you to put you back in place.
That is your judgment. That is not the judgment of the press.
They express concerns about your mental acuity. They say that you are too old. Mr. President,
again, it's his age. It won't go away. They keep questioning. He sighs as his head goes back down.
Express concerns about your mental acuity. In December, you told me that you believe there are many other Democrats who could defeat Donald Trump. So why does it have to be you now? What is your answer
Because
to
I'm the
that
most
question?
qualified person in this country to be president of the United States and finish the job I started.
This is a man who truly feels like he's on a mission. He really, truly believes in his heart that he's not losing his quickness. He's not losing his clarity. He truly believes this. So this is a man that does his best to regulate the room, does his best to put his best foot forward. He tries to appear more on the ball than I believe personally that he really is anymore. And when he tries to appear on the ball by saying things, sometimes he mutters, sometimes he closes his eyes, sometimes he says facts that he knows exist, but he doesn't quite have them linearly in the right place. Sometimes they're out of order, sometimes they're from a long time ago, but he's doing his best to show that he is capable, he is virile, and he's every bit as prepared to do another 4 years as he was the first 4 years. Again, this is not political. I don't care who you vote for. It's only about body language. And if you are still here, do me a favor. Click on one of these other videos and I will see you very soon in the next video.